Welcome back to another episode of That Fitness Couple, where we talk about eating lots of protein, lifting heavy in a safe way, and being the best version of yourself.
Let's go.
Today we're talking about an interesting question, and that is, could your exercise routine be the thing that's holding you back?
I think for a lot of people, it absolutely could be the thing that's holding them back, but they probably either don't realize it, and even if they do realize it, they might not know what to do about it.
Well, what would be the number one reason that someone's exercise routine could be the reason they're being held back?
Oh, I mean, if I have to rank these, now you're making this difficult. How about I just throw out any one of them and we roll with it?
Let's roll.
Okay. Because honestly, depending upon the person, the number one could be, again, one of many different things. So I'm going to say for a lot of people, it's probably trying to go too far, too fast. And what I mean by that is they are grossly outpacing their body's ability to recover from their exercise.
So if you have taken our fitness personality quiz, this would be the fitness queen or the fitness king. There may be somebody that's like extra. This would be the weekend warrior. They're in the gym 5, 6, 7, maybe even 8 days a week. I don't know how those people carve that out, but they figure out how to get there so many days. But nothing really changes on them.
And what we mean when we say they're outpacing their recovery, it comes back to that understanding that exercise is a stress, that it is a negative stress on your body.
Can you say that again?
Your exercise is a stress and it is a negative stress on your body. We always love to paint the picture of all the positive things that exercise do for us. If you look at the news or pull up internet articles, that's all they talk about is the benefits of exercise. But what people fail to realize is that to get those benefits, your body has to go through certain processes. And not being able to fully complete the process certainly limits the results somebody could get. I think what we often see with people is that when they begin an exercise program, because just about anything works, because they have not been doing anything up to that point, their body adapts really, really quickly and they start seeing the fruits of their labor. And that's a good thing because it encourages them to want to do more or to be more consistent. The problem becomes when somebody crosses over to it not just being consistent, but almost becoming an addiction. And I say that very carefully because there'll be a lot of people who say, well, exercise, it's a positive addiction. It's like, but you can still get to a point where you're doing too much and it's actually inhibiting your body.
What does your body actually need to recover?
Well, it needs uninterrupted rest. I mean, that is first and foremost. We can also talk about the need for proper nutrition, and that's important. But ultimately, your body needs days where it is not being stressed. And go ahead.
Yeah, most people will say, well, is it okay if I walk? And I just want to make a point of separation. Walking to me is movement. It's not the type of exercise we're talking about. Like you can go for a nice leisurely walk. In fact, if you like live or go to work or I don't know, wake up in the morning, like you're walking. That to me is not real exercise. So I want to just put that out for the person that's like, oh, like that means like I can go to the gym and then sit on my sofa. Like that's actually not what we mean. What we mean is, and we'll talk about this next, like push yourself, like use the proper stimulus, but you can still move your body. You can still walk. We don't want you doing hours in the gym every day, consecutively, day after day after day after day, so that your body then is not recovering because then you're not going to see any real progress or you may not even feel well.
So if we just go back to the stress conversation, I mean, the way that we would define it is that exercise is going to be an intense enough stress on your body that would force your body to have to adapt. How is it going to adapt? It's going to adapt by getting stronger. You're going to build more muscle. You're going to have greater cardiovascular conditioning. You're going to improve your range of motion, right? All of these benefits that come with exercise. Whereas, as you pointed out, walking is activity, and that's good activity, and we should remain active. Hopefully, our exercise program makes walking, whatever kind of walk you like to do, that much easier. just like any other activity of daily living.
That's so good. Well, let's talk about another reason that your exercise routine could be holding you back, and that may be failing to provide the proper stimulus. Talk to us about that.
Well, the stress that we're looking to put on our body has to be one in which it wakes up your muscles, it wakes up all of the systems in your body, makes them stand up and say, we need to get better. This is a challenge. And I think what we've found from people who've come into our studios who have prior experience exercising, the most common statement made is, I would never push myself this hard.
Yeah.
Or I would have never chosen that weight. I would never do this on my own. And what that statement is actually speaking to is there is a need to push oneself to that degree in order to get the results that they are looking for.
We recently had a client come in and she had worked one-on-one with a personal trainer for 2 years, somewhere local to us. And she said, I've made more progress in 3 weeks doing Pure Physique workouts than I did in 2 years working with the trainer. Because they would do a lot of, functional movement, which again, like no shade on that at all. But if you're not challenging yourself, you're not changing yourself. And most people are not, you're not actually like aware of what you're capable of doing. And I think for most people, it's a fear of being hurt. That was for me. I couldn't do more than my 5-pound or 8-pound dumbbells because I was scared of injury. So that definitely, I think, is something that stands in the way for a lot of people. Learning to do it in a proper way is so important, which is why I think in the beginning it is so important to have a coach or a well-versed personal trainer, preferably a Pure Physique one. But you want to be able to perform the exercise safely and then see what you're capable of. But that was the biggest change for me personally, is I was going to the gym and going through the motions, but certainly not providing my body the proper stimulus. So I did the elliptical, I did the treadmill, I felt good about it, but I always looked the same.
Well, and that speaks to one of the primary exercise principles, which is known as the SAID principle, which is just an acronym for specific adaptation to imposed demands.
I love how smart you are.
Thank you. So all the SAID principle is saying is that the degree to which you put demands on your body will determine how your body adapts. If your goal is to have better looking arms and you're going into the gym and you're just picking up the lightest weights that you could find and doing, 15 repetitions and putting that weight down, for what reason would those muscles develop or look any stronger or get any stronger? They're just simply not, because the demands that are being imposed are just simply not there.
I'm going to bring you back to 2009. You probably will not remember this, but the first time, maybe the third, that I ever walked into Pure Physique, I was asking, like, why are we lifting heavier weights? Like, is this possible? What is this actually going to do? And how is this even possible in just 2 or 3 days a week? I mean, I really just was trying to wrap my whole brain around how this was possible to get great results in such a short time with such short workouts. And I'll never forget you saying, take this pencil. And so you handed me do you remember this?
Yeah.
You handed me a pencil on the desk and you were like, do bicep curls with the pencil. And I was like, okay. You were like, did that challenge you? And I was like, no. You're like, did that change you? I was like, no. And you were like, well, that's what you've been doing at the gym. And I was like, okay. And again, movement is good, but if you're not challenging, you're not changing.
No.
Emotionally, physically, mentally, all of it, right?
Absolutely. And I think you brought up a really important point there that I don't want anyone to miss, which is you said, I couldn't wrap my brain around how doing this 2 or 3 times a week could produce that particular result. And the reason is because of the SAID principle. It's not about the number of days that you work out. It's not about the amount of time you work out for. It's about the demands. Do the demands that you place on your muscles, will that cause the adaptation that you're looking for? And when you get down to it, once you provide your muscles that particular stimulus, then the rest will take care of itself. I mean, we could get into the weeds with regards to how much volume and frequency and all that, but at the end of the day, it all comes down to, first, did you provide the stimulus? And a lot of people today are not doing that. Maybe it's out of fear of hurting themselves. Maybe it's just ignorance around what exercises they should be doing. But by and large, most people are not accustomed to challenging themselves. And maybe it's because I grew up as an athlete, specifically as a wrestler. You were taught from third grade on, this is how you work. And it's at an extremely high intensity. And as a kid, you might have the energy to do it, but regardless, your coaches are still pushing you to go harder and go harder and go harder. And so that mentality gets ingrained that if I'm going to do this activity, I got to train really hard at it. Most people are not being brought up with that mentality. So their first exposure to the gym may be as someone who was not an athlete growing up. And I'm not just talking about wrestling. We could go through many different sports, but usually in those athletic environments, you understand there's a certain value to training, that you need to train at a certain intensity or with a certain amount of effort to improve. And so those people may walk into the gym, understand, okay, I kind of recognize maybe I should be pushing myself a little bit harder. But I think it's maybe 50-50. 50% of the population grew up playing some sports and doing something where
It's probably less than that, but yeah.
It probably is. And then the rest of the population just doesn't realize that you need to work exceptionally hard in order to get these results. But that's why people get disappointed. They get disappointed because they go into the gym, they start doing the things. They think showing up at the gym is all they need to do. Putting in the hour of exercise is all they need to do. And when they're not getting the result, they can't understand why.
I'm just gonna let that sit for a second. I mean, that was me. I would say that's most people. Go through the motions. It's just go through the motions, show up, do my 10 reps here, my 10 reps there, my 30 minutes on the cardio, and like I'm good to go. And it's just simply not true.
No, I mean, how many women, let me go back 20 years. Shape magazine was like a big deal. Now it's all this stuff is online. But what would you do if you opened up one of those magazines or pulled up one of the internet articles from them today? It's going to be somebody telling you to do exactly what you described. Do 10 repetitions of hip thrusts for 3 sets.
Yeah.
And do this exercise for 10 reps and 3 sets.
Well, and then I'll be honest, for me, it was just body weight. Like body weight was enough. And again, 2009 changed everything where I'm like, wait, I can put like a 20-pound weight on my, hip bones and be able to still do that same thing. Like first of all, I didn't think I was capable of doing it just because I had never done it. It's such an amazing thing to be pushed a little bit. And you describing this, I'm actually thinking yesterday I was in the gym with a mother-daughter, awesome new clients that we have. And the daughter's an athlete. Like she's got an awesome athlete's body. I mean, just again, I wish I could go back and be her at like 16 or 15, however old she is. But she was doing dumbbell bicep curls, and I handed her, I think they were like 17 and a halves, which that's pretty legit, right?
Yeah.
To be 17 years old. And she struggled to do it. And I was right there with her, helping out with the class. And she completely completed it. And I'm like, damn, this girl could have done like 20-pound bicep curls, But if you go to the gym by yourself as a young woman, I was picking up 8s. I was picking up 10s, like, oh, no way could I do 12 or 15 or 17 and a half, 20. Are you crazy? But it was awesome. Like I was actually just very, very, very inspired watching her complete the set because she struggled through it. She kept her form. She looked awesome when she was done. I mean, you saw like the total happiness and satisfaction where she just felt so good and so accomplished at the end of it. And then the next woman came to the exercise where I was helping and I was like, let's go for 20s, like let's push it. Like, let's see actually what you're capable of. Cause you might never do that on your own.
Most won't.
Yeah.
Most will not. And I love how you describe that because there is that realization after you've done it, even if you reach the point of failure. And if you do, even better. I mean, when we talk about providing the right stimulus, that often is what we are trying to describe is not just selecting a heavy weight load, but it's a weight load that you're going to get to, or at least very near that point of muscular failure. So as you described her going through it, you have to be there for her for that last repetition. Like she may not complete it, may wind up being a forced rep, but at the end of it, she's walking away going, oh my gosh, I did that.
Yeah. Well, it's that belief builder, but then also too, biologically, everything that's happening in your body. I mean, they talk about it online, the hope molecules that are literally being released, myokines. You feel happy, you feel good, you feel accomplished. Like, I can't wait for my workout this evening because I just know how much happier I'm going to feel when I challenge myself and push myself. I mean, I love, we get to give that to people every single day.
Could I just say one more thing on this?
You
Because I mean, I love this conversation. For this young woman, she is going to have such a major advantage when she is a woman of your age or her mom's age, because she is establishing strength levels now at this young age, and it is giving her a running head start. Whereas thinking about your own journey, you were 24 when you finally picked up a 12-pound dumbbell to do dumbbell curls. Now you do 20-pound dumbbell curls, but imagine if you were 17 years old and you were lifting those 17 and a half, 20-pound dumbbells. I mean, not that you'd be using 40-pound dumbbells today, but just the fact that, number one, you would confidently go into an exercise, and even if it's a heavy weight, you'd have the confidence to say, you know what, I can still at least try this weight load, and also know that you could do it safely. So this is just more of a word of encouragement to those listening. If you have young daughters, if you have young sons, get
Nieces,
them training.
nephews.
Yeah, I mean, get the kids training now. And it's not that every kid is going to walk in as an athlete and be skilled. Part of the reason why we want them starting early is so that they could develop the skills so that when they mature, they're that much further ahead. Their learning curve is not as steep. They can skip past that and just get right to the work.
Well, and it's physical. It's also mental. And I think about our 8-year-old who can do, how many pull-ups does he do right now?
He does like about
10?
8 to 10,
Okay.
somewhere in that range.
So he was very excited to have a friend over. He asked the pull-up bar to leave our bedroom and get hung on his bedroom door, which I was sad about. But I'm like, we gotta get that back in our bedroom. But he was so excited to hop up on it. And it's so crazy to see his confidence in that exercise carry into everything else. Like, he'll come across or encounter a situation, a problem, a challenge. He's like, oh, we can figure this out. Like, we got this. I mean, he was asked to go and look at different activities for his brother's birthday. This kid's on ChatGPT asking it questions, typing words, not talking, like literally typing in keys. I was just so proud of him. So understand too that this goes so beyond just the physical. It's mental, it's emotional. I think there's also just like a spiritual component, that realizing that you were created in divine perfection. You were created to do hard things. And when you do hard things, you actually feel purposeful and you feel fulfilled. So man, I could keep going on this topic, but let's go into another way that your exercise routine could be holding you back. And that's accidentally chasing the wrong adaptation.
So this is an important one. And I love that we've already established this framework of understanding specific adaptation to impose demands. And what this really means to me when we say you accidentally chase the wrong adaptation is most people want to see an improvement in their body composition in the way of increased muscle tone. They want to feel stronger, but their workout routine is not built to satisfy that adaptation. And what they wind up doing is a lot of different forms of exercise. They might do a variety of things that they think they should be doing, but none of them add up to realizing the strength gains that they want to see, realizing the changes in their body they want to see occur. And to give an example of this, since, again, a large part of our audience are women, and a large part of that audience may be familiar with going to the gym, what we've seen time and time again is many will go into a gym and they're going to spend their 30 minutes on the treadmill or the elliptical, the bike. Some are going to go in and take an hour-long exercise body pump class where they're using really light weights and not really challenging their muscles. Then they may, on another day, go and partake in yoga. So they're going to do like this wide variety of exercises, none of which actually get to the root of what they need because they are not challenging enough. Again, they're doing activity. They are by and large being productive, but because of how much exercise they're doing, how frequently they're doing it, and the type that they're choosing, the only adaptation that's occurring is they're getting really good at doing those exercise routines. And they may feel or notice an improvement in maybe their muscular endurance, but they're wondering, why am I not stronger? Why are my arms not as toned? Why isn't my butt changing? And it's because you're chasing the wrong thing. You're doing all of this activity, but none of it is directed towards the right adaptation.
Well, let's just say that 100% of women that call any of our fitness studios will say that one of their goals is to tone. We just want to look like we work out, right? We want to look fit. We want to look strong. We definitely want to have that aesthetic. Will running ever make us look toned?
No. I don't need to say any more. Just no. Listen, for some people, if they're already carrying an appreciable amount of muscle, if they're that rare individual who maybe they were an athlete at one time and they built a good amount of muscle in their teens or their early 20s, and then they kind of let themselves go, and then they get to running. So now again, they're burning off some body fat. Like, yeah, maybe that person might look a little bit more toned, but in the long run, it's not going to result in such. So like there may be this short window where doing all this activity, and this also is what causes this false belief in what they're doing, is that they see some success, they see some hints of what it is that they're looking for, so they continue down that path and wonder, why is it not working? But it only worked in that short period for a specific reason, and now you're beyond that, right? So now you really have to get into doing the real things that would create that muscle tone.
Yeah, I mean, let's just say a typical woman, 15 to maybe upwards of 30 pounds to lose. Could be more, could be less, and it could be like the last 5 to 10, but just strictly doing a running regimen, right? Like, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, no. No.
I don't mean to laugh. Like, I don't mean to laugh, because that was totally my belief. I mean, up until literally I walked in your doors, it was like, I just need to run. Like, if I can just run enough, I can run this fat off of my body. And I also believed that that fat would turn into muscle, which is kind of like saying that you hope your grass turns into a steak. Like, it's not going to happen. They're totally different things. There's muscle and there's fat, and they don't turn into each other, right? Yep. But it was, yeah, if I can just do 30 minutes, like, oh my gosh, maybe if I could push to 45. I mean, let's go back to the first reason. If I could push to 60 minutes, man, if I could just run for 90 minutes, like I could burn 1,000 calories, and like maybe then I would look like I have tone. It's just not going to happen.
Well, and not to get deep into the reasoning, since that's not what this episode is about, but their focus, or your focus, may have been, I'm going to run off all this fat, but what you don't realize is in the process, you're also running off all of this muscle tissue. And it's that muscle tissue that gives you the muscle tone that you're trying to achieve. So this is not a knock on running and telling people you shouldn't run. I know many people who are very muscular runners, but it's because running comes secondarily to their resistance training. And they do a lot to ensure that they're not losing muscle tissue as a result of their running. And these are people who are very smart. They're colleagues of ours. So they understand that the resistance training is there to help assist them with their running. It's to make them a better runner. It's also to make sure that this activity that they love to do, which is running, which I could never wrap my head around how anyone could love this as an activity, but I get it.
Kudos
There are those of you out there.
It's not my favorite.
Yes, I've said it before. I'm only running if I'm being chased, and that is the only time I'm running. But that said, it's that recognition that by doing my resistance training, I'm going to thwart the one negative thing that could happen from me doing this enjoyable activity, which is muscle loss.
Yeah.
So it's at that point, it becomes about, prioritizing what exercise you're doing and when.
So if you run, resistance train, and if you don't run, resistance train.
Correct.
So basically, resistance train. All right. Well, let's then talk about what adjustments that we can be making if one of these things is a struggle. So let's go back to the first thing, trying to go too far too fast. So if you think you're overdoing it, which I'm just going to put a little caveat in here, most people that are overdoing it don't think they're overdoing it. And so let's paint a picture of what it looks like if someone is overdoing it so that you know that this is you. First, if you took our fitness personality quiz and you got fitness queen or fitness king, chances are you're overdoing it. If you're at the gym 5, 6, 7 days a week and you're like, I got to be there, I got to do my hour, my 2, my 3 hours, whatever it is, like chances are you're overdoing it. I don't know, if you're obsessed about like getting to the gym and getting your workout in and you can't miss a single day because you're so afraid that you're going to lose the results. Spoiler alert, you're not going to lose the results. It's 15 years now. I'm in the gym twice a week. Sometimes it's once. Oh my God, right? Mm-hmm. People wouldn't believe that. Like I wouldn't have believed this 15 years ago. I just wouldn't have. Those are some good hints that you're overdoing it. So what can those people do about that?
Well, let me just throw a couple more in there so that if somebody's saying, ooh, I'm recognizing that symptom right now, this would also be some of the things to look for. If you are experiencing a lot of one-day colds, 1 or 2 days, right? And this is happening frequently throughout the year. And the only time you're taking off from the gym is when you're ill, then that is definitely a good indicator that you fall in that overdoing it / overtraining end of the spectrum. I know we personally don't take our heart rate in the morning, but a lot of people that like taking your pulse and recognizing changes in that can also be an indicator. So your resting heart rate, if it's elevated to a certain extent for a period of time when that's not typical of you, then that is also a very good indicator that you have reached this point of overtraining or at least overreaching. If you are finding yourself demotivated, so even though you go to the gym constantly, if you're finding that your motivation to go is waning and it's becoming more and more of a chore, that is typically another way that you're overdoing it. We could probably go down the line and find a lot of other things. People who are finding, negative changes in their hormones, that could also be another indicator. We're not asking anybody to do blood tests and things like that, but long term, I mean, if you're getting blood work done once or twice a year and you're getting other biomarkers assessed, and you're seeing that even though you're doing all of this exercise, that you're still moving, you're not trending in the proper direction. If you're on this downward trend, then that's probably another good indicator that you are overdoing it.
What about someone that knows they're doing a good amount or a lot and they're not seeing any results?
Absolutely.
Could also be that. So what do they do?
Well, first is to assess their situation. Like you have to be brutally honest with yourself. Am I getting the results that I would expect to get for all of this activity? And if the answer to that is no, and you're of the realization that I really can't or I shouldn't be doing any more than this, like it should not take more than what I'm currently doing, then it's time to take an alternative approach, which might be actually cutting what you do.
You've given this advice to people often, and it always freaks them out.
Yeah, and for some people, it falls on deaf ears because they can't get past that mental blockade, which says more is better. More is better. If 3 times a week is good, then 4 must be better. And that's what gets people into this situation in the first place. Hello, I was there too. And for me, it was, I'm going to say, being forced to cut back on my training, that once I did and saw the result of doing that, which was an improvement in strength, an improvement in muscularity, an improvement in my energy levels, an overall improvement in every key area of my life, that I said, maybe there actually is something to this stress model when it pertains to exercise. And we first have to just realize that, going back to what we had originally said about exercise being a stress. So if you're in a stressful situation, if your body is under stress and you're feeling sick, what do you do?
Me personally, I'd nap.
Exactly. I think most people, when they're not feeling well, what do they do?
I got to get to the gym. I got to get my workout. I hate when people call the gym. They're like, I'm not feeling 100%. I'm like, stay home. Like, just stay home. Don't get anybody else sick. And like, your body is like it's kind of like a car dashboard. Warning lights are going on. Chill out.
You require rest.
Rest. Just rest.
Yes. And that is the most underrated portion of fitness.
Agree.
Is rest. Everybody wants to talk about recovery models. Go for your cold plunge, jump in an infrared sauna, eat the right way after your workouts. Yes, all very important. None of those are more important than straight up rest. And the only way that you're going to get the rest is if you there's two approaches you could take here. I think our approach is the long-term approach, which says, let me find out what is the most manageable amount of exercise I could do in a week to get or maintain my results. And let me just do that, and do that continually and consistently for the rest of my life. Then there are people who maybe they are that fitness queen or king. They're like, but I love my activity level. I love training constantly. Well, for you, then every 6-8 weeks, you should be taking a full week off from training.
Yeah.
An absolute full week off, maybe even 2. And that's where this becomes a challenge, because for those individuals in particular, the thought of cutting back on how much they're doing on a weekly basis and then just doing that consistently over time doesn't jive with them. And the idea of taking a week off, which will happen, but it's going to happen because you're going to be forced to take a week off when you're sick or something, you're injured because of all the overuse and wear and tear on your body. Those are your only 2 options. And so my recommendation, as you pointed to many times for many people, has been you need to cut back. You need to cut down on what you're doing. And even if you still want to exercise 4 or 5 days a week, okay, take one of the activities though that you're doing on that day, because these are never people who they're just doing one thing on each day. They're going into the gym and they're doing multiple things each of those days. It's saying, let's take one of those things off the table. Maybe it is just cutting the cardio and just doing your resistance training. Maybe it's also cutting down, if you are training hard enough, cutting down on your intensity for 1 or 2 workouts, or doing little things like I'm going to do, my forearms and calves one day and not really worry about the big muscle groups. So ultimately, though, it comes down to having to just reduce the overall amount of work that's being done.
There's still somebody out there that's doubting, so you can just rewind 2 minutes and listen again and listen again and listen again. But as you said, for most people, they won't believe it until they experience it. And the only way to experience it is to do it. And so that is our encouragement for the kings and queens out there.
One more thing on this.
You have lots of one more things.
I know. I usually don't.
I know.
What I'll say is what changed it for me, what made it acceptable to make the reduction in work and then continue with that over time were the results. So if the reason for your training is I am looking to achieve a certain result, whether that's a look, a feel, a certain level of conditioning, hitting PRs for certain lifts, if you were to make this change, make a cut, let's say, and you saw an improvement in that result, then if the result is the most important thing, then you would continue to employ that strategy. But if you make that cut, you make an improvement, but then you still go back to doing what you've been doing, then for that person, there's sort of no hope, because the only reason then why they're doing the exercise goes back to the exercise addiction that we were talking about. It has, because when the result's the most important thing, like you'll make whatever change you need to make to get the result. So I think that we have to assess, why am I doing this in the first place?
Any more one things?
That is my only one thing until we get to the next topic, I'm sure.
What happens if you feel like you may not be training hard enough? Which I do think a lot of people fall into this category. Like, whoa, what you guys just described. Oh my gosh, that's me. I'm using 3, 5, 8-pound dumbbells max. What do they do?
Well, they first have to, again, now that they've come to that realization that they're not training hard enough, it is making that concerted effort to train hard enough. And for some people, that may look like getting the help of a professional. For others, it may be getting a training partner, just having somebody with you that pushes you. There's really a lot of good research that shows that people will still drastically improve their strength and work harder just with someone present, not even coaching them, somebody present while they're doing their exercise. Well, you're smiling, so I'm wondering if this is about to come back to me.
No, I have the worst poker face. So I'm working on being built for my 40th birthday and really committing to getting my 2 workouts in a week. I was very sad that I missed a week of workouts like 3 weeks ago. It just felt terrible. Got back into it, but it was so funny. We went away for 3 days, and being away, we were able to get 2 workouts in, which was so awesome to just be in a different place. First time we walked in, it was very crowded, which was not very awesome. Did you feel more sore after those workouts away or less sore? Because I felt so freaking sore. Like
Yeah.
I pushed myself with more people around. I don't know what it was, but it's like being in that environment. Here's what I'm going to say for the women that are not currently resistance or weight training, which if you're not, like, let's give it the program. Love you. Let's do it. I love being one of very few women in the weight area in a gym now. That was always a place that super intimidated me. And it's not about other people's opinions. It's like, I do feel badass in my own skin for the first time in my adult life. And then being there and being around other people, like I am motivated to push myself more. You know, it's not me by myself in the gym. You know, sometimes we'll work out in our own studio and no one else is there, and I'll push myself. But like I really pushed myself. We were laying on the beach the next day. I was like, oh my gosh. Again, been weight training for 15 years, but like felt parts of my muscles that I haven't felt in a while. And it just reminds me how important it is to have a workout partner, a workout buddy, not just go through the motions by yourself, but to do it alongside others, or again, a specific friend. So I'm inviting you to my next workout, Mike.
Well, I already had mine today, and mine was in the group. So we do predominantly small group resistance training workouts. And I love being in the group because there are many days. In fact, this was my second workout this week.
Show off. I got 0.
Sorry, but not sorry. And on Monday, it was me on my own. I had to take myself through my workout, and I definitely pushed hard. I mean, no doubt. But being in the group, it's that extra motivation.
It's like energy. It's like energy
Yes.
and motivation. Like there's other people around. So like, I don't know if it's just a belief, but it's like you want to see what you're capable of. You want to push yourself more.
I would say the only thing that tops that is a really good personal trainer who is putting all of their focus and energy into you and ensuring that there is no
Maybe that's what it
sway.
was. When we went away, maybe what it was you and I did a routine where we were back and forth on equipment. And actually, maybe what it was not the other people in the gym. I wanted you to get on the row and be like, damn, my wife lifted a lot here. I wanted you to see that peg getting down lower and lower and lower on the weight stack when you got on the piece of equipment after me. So maybe that's my motivation.
That's funny. Well, then maybe the only thing that tops that is, again, being in the group with a personal trainer.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe that's why our model is what it is. But it is super helpful, though, again, to be able to push yourself to your limits. And what I'm going to say around this is one of those scenarios, though, where less is more. And what I mean by that is if people are going into the gym with the expectation that they're going to be in there for, say, 45 minutes, right? Just not an excessive amount of time, but 45 minutes. What typically happens is as they're going through the workout, their intensity level drops off. Why? Because that's naturally what's going to happen. The more activity you do, the more likely it is, both mentally and physically, we're looking to pace ourselves.
That's so true.
And if we flip it around and we were going into the gym and we weren't putting a time limit on the work that we're doing, but instead said, I'm just going to put all of my energy and effort into this one set. I mean, people talk all the time about being present, being in the moment. Never are they talking about while they're exercising. They're just talking about life in general. But if you took that same recommendation and applied it to your exercise, this is how you perform such a small volume of exercise and yet get tremendous results. It's not magic. It is not that complicated. It's specific adaptation to imposed demand. And the demand that needs to be imposed is that of maximum effort.
Yeah.
Like all out effort. I am trying as hard as I possibly can right now. And when you do that, that is when you are recruiting every motor unit, every muscle fiber available, right, to attempt to complete this repetition. That is the stimulus that helps us to build strength and muscle, as well as improve our aerobic and cardiovascular conditioning. But most people don't do that because they're so fixated on getting to the end, getting to the 15th rep, getting to the 4th set.
This is why I think 30 minutes is magical. 15 minutes in, your motivation may start to dip. And if you're in an hour workout, you're like, oh man, like I'm only a quarter of the way through. With ours, you're halfway done.
Yeah.
So it's like when you would normally dip down in energy, you do rev it back up again because you're like, I only have 15 minutes left. Mentally, like I do feel like it makes you work harder. Plus, too, the actual workout regimen we were doing, it's available in our online workout program as well. It's a 5x5 program. It's only 5 reps. And you're going back and forth between different pieces of equipment, multiple times. But it's like each time you sit down, there's only 5 reps. So it was total presence,
total focus on
max
all
effort
out
on
effort.
every single one of them, and so good.
Well, what is so important about this, though, as we bring it back to people who might be doing this on their own, it's next time you go into the gym, just change your mentality about how you're going to do each of your exercises. Instead of going in and worrying about how many sets you're going to do, like sit down on that piece of equipment or grab that set of dumbbells. Just say, you know what? This is a moderately heavy weight for me. I'm just going to keep going until I can't do anymore. And when you can't do anymore, keep straining against it as if you could.
Yeah.
And then see if you even feel it's necessary to come back to that exercise.
I think typically women will have anywhere from 3 to 8 to 10 more reps in them beyond we're like, okay, like I did my 10, like let me stop. Like, no, keep going. Keep going. You'll be shocked.
Yeah.
And again, like you said, I mean, there's been scientific studies on it. Put a person there that says, come on, keep going. Come on, keep going. Or just stands there. I think the research was literally done on somebody who stood there, didn't say anything, didn't coach. People are capable of more.
Yeah, they're always capable of more. And I think if you're listening or watching right now and you're like, that's totally me. Like I definitely have something more in the tank, then consider doing less, but just consider doing it harder. And harder does not mean that it's still not safe. It just means that maybe you're spending more time and again, really being present in that exercise and seeing, can I max out on this? Can I max out my effort and not necessarily anything else?
Well, finally, what about the person that feels like they're not doing enough?
Yeah, so there's 2 ways that you could go about this, resolving this issue. The first which is the one that I would most frequently recommend, is just a more methodical increase in the amount that you're doing. So if you were, let's say you were training 2 times a week and you're training like moderately hard, but not as much, and you tried pushing yourself harder, but you just can't do it. And so maybe I need to up the ante a little bit. So I wouldn't go from doing 2 workouts a week to now doing 5. It's like you make a methodical increase, which means that you go from 2 to maybe adding 1. And then you assess, like, what happened when I did that? Did my results improve? Did nothing change? And then you can, but if something did happen, then you're like, okay, maybe that's all I need to do. Nobody says you need to do more than that, because you found the right balance between how much work you're doing and still how much time you have to recover from it. For someone else who maybe it really truly is a scheduling issue, it's a work issue. They travel, like even though they still get their 2 workouts in per week, they know that there's still something else there and they want to try to take it to the next level. So for that person, like what we would call a blitz, which is just a very short period of time where you intentionally ramp up the demands, is not necessarily the worst approach. It's one that I've actually used in the past myself. For some people, it works really well. I'll be honest, for others, it really doesn't make too much of a difference. I was one of these people where it never made too much of a difference, but I've seen the changes in other people. And to paint a picture of what that looks like, a blitz would be taking 1 or 2 weeks where you intentionally double or triple the amount of work that you do in that week. So if normally you are training 2 times a week and it's, they're 20, 30-minute workouts of moderate intensity. And again, you're that person who you can't up the intensity any more than it is. The only other dials you could turn would be volume and frequency. So maybe you don't want to be in the gym any longer, so you dial up the frequency. So for those 2 weeks, maybe you are working out 5 times in the week, and you're doing that for just 1 or 2 weeks, and then you're just stepping right back to what you've been doing, right? Which becomes kind of like your maintenance period. So that would be one way for the person who feels like they actually do need more, but they don't have the capacity to do any more. They could periodically do something like that. But my preference, as I mentioned, is the more methodical approach where it's like, hey, find the time to get a little bit more work in, whether that is, again, just 1 extra workout a week, or maybe it's at home. Maybe you don't have to go to the gym to do it or see a personal trainer, but maybe it's having that at home routine that you could bang out in 15 to 20 minutes that challenges your body and makes you feel really good.
So good. One more thing? No more things? Are you good?
Do you want me to come up with one more thing?
No, I really do think that this is going to be a very helpful episode for people. We don't ever want your exercise to be something that holds you back. But of course, as with anything, more is not always better. Less is not always better either. It's finding the right place for you where you are. And again, we're always encouraging you to push yourself safely, but a little bit harder. And a great way to do that would be our program. We do have a free 5-day challenge. It does provide 3 of our workouts just to sample them out, right? There's no strings attached to it. You could give it a shot, see if it works for you. Somebody this morning actually said, if I didn't have Mike on my iPad 3 days a week, I would be very sad. So you're inspiring people all over the world right now, Mike, with your workouts, helping people to get it done in just 30 minutes. And so wherever you land, also feel free to take advantage of our free fitness personality quiz. Hopefully that'll give some insights if you have a difficult time being real with yourself about where you are. And then of course, some of our simple strategies to help you get on a good track to feel great, feel amazing. Because always remember, you were created on purpose, for a purpose, with a purpose. We believe in you, and we're just excited for you to continue to take things to another level. We'll catch you guys in the next episode.
Let's go.